Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabha. Hello everyone. So today I feel like talking about what is karma. Many people might have heard of the word karma, but what exactly does it mean? So a quick search may reveal that karma means actions. But it's not just about actions, right? Because think about what actually motivates our actions, right? It is really our thoughts, our intentions. So in the Sutra, the Buddha told us that the intention that is done through our body, speech, and mind, this is called karma. So the karma has three folds. Right? It can be done through our mind. And when we generate a thought, we already create a karma. Right? The karmic seed is already there. And it can also be manifest through our speech and through our actions. And the karma also has this karmic force because we don't just have one thought, right? We don't just have one intention, but rather a series of thoughts, a series of speech, and followed by a series of actions. And this creates a karmic force. And when the right conditions are met, there will also be the karmic fruit, the karmic consequences. So the law of karma is also the law of causality, the law of cause and effect. It is actually very logical and it is very fair. Karma has three types: wholesome, unwholesome, and neutral. So what is neutral? For instance, a lot of acts we do in our life, like if I'm just walking, this is neither good nor bad, so it is neutral. So good thoughts, good speech, good actions generates good karma, and which will also result in good fruits. Bad thoughts, bad speech, bad actions generates bad karma, which can also result in bad karmic fruits, bad consequences. So to understand how the law of karma works, it's really helpful to understand our life and how we should actually conduct through our everyday life if we want to live a good life, if we want to have good karma, good results in our life. So what is considered good and bad? Sometimes it is not so easy, and we cannot just judge with our conventional standard or what we think is good and bad. As ordinary beings, what we may consider as good may not actually be good from the perspective of the law of karma. For instance, if you see an animal that is maybe really suffered because maybe he's injured, and you thought, oh, maybe I should just end his life so he will not suffer so much. But ending his life, you commit the crime of killing. And although you may think that he will not be suffered once he died, but that is actually not the truth. He could suffer even more due to the horror of being murdered, and then will result in a lower rebirth, which he will bear more sufferings. And with that, you will also bear bad karmic consequences. So we cannot just, use our ordinary mind sometimes to judge what is good and bad. We also really need to follow the Buddha's teachings. That's why it is important that we, as Buddhists, should observe the 5 precepts, such as non-killing, non-stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, no alcohol and intoxicants. No alcohol and intoxicants help us to prevent the potential commitment of the first 4 deeds, which can carry negative karmic consequences. And also we shall practice the 10 good deeds. The 10 good deeds are 10 wholesome karma that will result in very good karmic fruits. And the opposite of the 10 good deeds are the 10 evil deeds, which will result in bad karmic fruits. And the 10 good deeds are, so the first 4 are similar to the 5 precepts: no killing, and to help save lives, and no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, no divisive speech, no frivolous speech, no harsh speech, no greed, no anger, and no ignorance. So these are 10 good deeds that will give us very good karmic fruits. In the path of the 10 good karma sutra, the Buddha talks about the 10 good deeds in detail and the corresponding positive karmic fruits one will have when one practices the 10 good deeds. But sometimes what is good and evil is also not black and white. For instance, you told a lie to the hunter that the rabbit ran the other way. But the purpose of you for telling the lie is actually to save life, which is more important. So in this case, you're actually committing a good deed, and this is good karma. So we also need to have wisdom to discern what is good and evil. Some people may say, oh, I don't believe in the law of karma, because why? Sometimes in life we see that good things happen to evil people and bad things happen to good people. So for karmic fruits to ripen, sometimes it will also take a long time, and maybe not just in this life, it could also get ripened in future lifetimes. So karma can run through our lifetimes. So there are some karma where the karmic fruits will get ripened instantly. For instance, if I slap someone now, immediately the other person may just slap me back. Instant manifestation of the karmic fruit. But for some others, it could take some time. For instance, if I plant an apple seed today, I may not be able to get my apple tree and the apples until several years later, and provided that the right conditions are there, with the right amount of water and the sunshine. So sometimes it will also take karmic fruits much longer to get ripened, even in future lifetimes. So for some people, if you are a very good person in this life, but for some reason you just experience a lot of hardships, a lot of suffering, this could also due to the ripen of the karmic fruits from the evil deeds that you committed in your previous life, which only got ripened in this life. Similarly, for someone who may be an evil person in this life, but he is having a great life, most likely he is enjoying the ripen of the karmic fruits from his good deeds in the past. But if he's committing evil now, he will also be sure to get the responding evil karmic fruits from the evil deeds that he's committed now. But the karmic fruits may only manifest in the future time or even future lifetimes. So sometimes it will take much longer for karmic fruits to ripen, but this is not to say that the law of karma doesn't exist. The law of karma is indeed real, and it is very fair. Even for enlightened beings, they cannot escape this natural law of karma. When Shakyamuni Buddha was in this world, he is still subject to the law of karma. And he also encountered many hardships. But the difference is that for the enlightened ones, they will not be suffered even when the negative karmic fruits ripen, because they have no attachment. They will not give rise to any affliction, regardless of what happens. So that's why they will not be affected. But this is not to say that the law of karma will just disappear for enlightened beings. So to understand how the law of karma works is really important. It also helps us to understand that our destiny is actually in our hands. We actually have the ability to change our destiny, to change our life by changing our karma, by changing our thoughts, speech, and actions. So sometimes people ask, who creates all of us? Why there are so many different causes of existence? Why we all sort of experience life differently? So in Buddhism, we don't say that there is an absolute creator that creates and controls everything. And no one is capable of doing that. Instead, we create our life, through our karma, through our mind, our thoughts, speech, and actions. In the path of the 10 Good Karma Sutra, the Buddha tells us this clearly. Because all beings have different thoughts from the mind, they too perform different karma, and as a consequence, there is a turning around in all the various courses of existence. Dragon King, do you see the variety of shapes and appearances in this assembly and the great ocean? Are they not different from one another? Of all of them, none is not made by the mind, brought about by good or evil, bodily, verbal, and mental karma. Yet the mind is formless. It cannot be grasped or perceived, but it is the unreal accumulation and arising of all dharmas which are ultimately without honor, without me and mine. Although each manifested differently according to their karma, there is nevertheless no creator in essence. So we are in fact the product of our karma, the product of our mind, the thoughts generated from the mind, and our speech and actions. Through changing our thoughts, our speech and actions, through changing our karma, we can change our life. Of course, this is not so easy. Why? Because the karmic force is very strong. We have committed a lot of evil karma from our countless eons of reincarnation. So in the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Buddha told us that if our evil karma has forms, then the whole of the empty space cannot contain it. So our evil karmic force is actually strong. That's why we have strong habitual tendency. It is difficult for us to change our habits, especially those bad habits, because there are a lot of evil karmic seeds in our mind, which creates the karmic force, which can be quite difficult for us to change our bad habits. Even if we know that it is not good to do certain things, but sometimes we can't help it. Why is that? Because the karmic force is very strong. Our habitual tendency is very strong. That is why our spiritual practice is so important. The practice of meditation, mindfulness practice is so important. We need to actually be aware of our thoughts from moment to moment in order to not to commit evil karma. As ordinary beings, this may not really be possible. But what we can do is really to be more diligent in our daily meditation practice. And the easiest way, the easiest meditation I'll recommend, which you might have guessed it, is really to Nianfo, to be mindful of the name of Amitabha Buddha, to really recite the name of Amitabha Buddha, Amitofo, Amitofo, Amitofo. This really helps us to transform all our negative thoughts into the name of Amitabha Buddha, into infinite light and life, which can in turn transform our speech and actions. And this is how we can transform our karma from negative to the name of Amitabha Buddha, to infinite light and infinite life. When we experience unfortunate situations in life, which we don't know why, we also don't need to complain too much. It's most likely due to the manifestation of our evil karma from the past. So instead of complaining or blaming others, we can just give rise to the heart of repentance. And the easiest way for Nianfo practitioners to repent is also to be mindful of the name of Amitabha Buddha, to transform all our negative thoughts into the name of Amitabha Buddha, into infinite light and life. The Buddha also told us, if at the time of our death we can be mindful of Amitabha Buddha, and with faith and vow we can attain rebirth in his land of ultimate bliss, a world with no suffering and all bliss. And there we can actually transcend the cycle of reincarnation, to transcend all sufferings in life, and to realize enlightenment and the final Buddhahood. This can be quite difficult for some people to believe, but this is indeed real. Many people, they have Nianfo they have seen Amitabha Buddha, and they have attained rebirth in the Pure Land. This we'll talk more about it in the near future. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabhaya.